last stream, even though I had everything set up saying it was Kenshi, the tag on the bottom, I was like, wait a second, that says EVE Online. So last stream, if anyone came in going, huh, I wonder where's the EVE Online? We do that on Fridays. So if anyone came in confused, I apologize for that. Because I changed the description, or like the thing that gets sent out, and the name, but I forgot to change the tag. So hopefully if anyone got confused, you're not confused now. So either way, let's get back to where we were doing. So we were getting ready. So some good tips. Also, actually, this is something that someone brought me up. There's a very popular mod that I think a lot of people recognize, but a lot of people probably have it on their videos because they don't mention it's a mod. Recruiting prisoners is a mod. You can recruit former slaves though. So we like took him and got him enslaved by the slavers, but like he couldn't see us do it. We'd have to like knock him out and have them enslave him, or we'd have to knock him out and turn him in. But he didn't know we did it to him, right? And then we have a chance of when we release him that he will join us, right? So unless something has changed, I believe that was still just a mod. So just keep that in mind if you're hoping to get a recruit of some kind. His backpack looks a little different than anyone else's, or from Swift's. I wonder if body shape actually changes the shape of the backpack, because this is kind of wide and short, and he's kind of wide and short, and Swift is kind of tall and thin, and the backpack's kind of tall and thin. A funny thing. So that, I wouldn't blame anyone from getting confused on that, because a lot of people probably play with that mod on and don't kind of mention it. And yes, we do have a campfire on in the house. I know that's probably been making some people laugh, but that is technically a mod. But you can recruit people by having them get enslaved and then freeing them, and then they're going, oh, thank you. As long as they don't know you had anything to do with them getting enslaved. It's a way to get a lot of recruits, actually, is freeing slaves from the Empire. So that could be a really good option for us recruiting. And I believe that's another way of getting skeletons. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe I saw a guide once saying that was a good way of getting skeletons. Pretty sure it was a guide. I think there was a guide on Steam that they had. If I remember who made it, I'll try to mention it. But I'm pretty sure that was a guide. But whether or not we maybe at one time do a modded game might be interesting. I know there's some pretty good Kenshi mods though. I'm gonna just check out what he's got on his inventory. Okay, nothing quite yet. But we can actually, well, hold on. We have some extra parts. Let's throw all that stuff up in our inventory. And fast forward. We should be making a good amount of money. And also, I think I was talking to someone about the Nomad. When the Nomads pass by, we're going to be getting another bull, but this time it's going to be the Horn variant, because I believe, at least in my other save, I went back and looked at my other save, and it was much faster. The Horden variant. I don't know if that's just some other weird thing happening, like maybe something was wrong with specifically the dehorned Holy Nation one. For some reason, it was the dehorned Holy Nation one was I won't sugarcoat it, but pretty bad speed-wise. It was pretty slow. But actually, the idea of recruiting, because I know that you guys were thinking about us recruiting him, which I do like the idea of doing, but we'll have to be kind of smart with how we do it. We'll have to maybe, we'll have to take him to the Empire land, kind of Imperial turf, kind of dump him off somewhere, let him run into a bunch of slavers that will enslave him and then free him. But they do have a random personality, and that random personality can just be ungrateful. And I'm not exactly sure if bandits have all the full range of personalities or not. But there's a chance that he might just not be a personality that's willing to join us. So it'll depend. I guess we could take him to rebirth, but that just begs the issue of possibly getting into another fight with the Holy Nation. Let's see what we got here. Do assassination training. If we're gonna do any kind of secret knocking people out, trying to get people to recruit people, that's an option. Turret training is also probably pretty useful because we're probably gonna try turrets, because I do know they do have turrets at Holy Nation cities, so I don't think Okranites have anything wrong with turrets. A problem with turrets. But let's finish these industrial stuff first. Battery power. Oh, increases the battery output. Battery capacity. Upgraded small generators. Yeah, a whole bunch of this kind of stuff to build. Let's make sure that we can just build what we need to build. Is that requires fuel generator? It just gives us further upgrade to all small generators. Splints and basic weapons. Let's do power. Let's make sure we can have the power once we get there to do anything, because if not, we're going to be in trouble. We'll only be able to make the first rank of mounted crossbows, it looks like. Yeah. Which is unfortunate, but we'll have to deal with it. Because the rest require ancient books. Harpoon, yeah, also requires that. So we're going to be mounted crossbows at most. Let's get power first. And we want to do crossbow training. We do have two gunners. Two people who are professional gunners. I think it was Stone and Logan? Great small generators. We'll do that. And we'll do composite runners, because once we have mounted crossbows, that'll give us a little boost. Which we'll need, since they won't be the best mounted crossbows possible. And again, I'm not sure exactly how the hounds are going to like us being there. Is normally if you run some drugs, if you run drugs for them if you smuggle drugs for them into the Empire, they're cool with you. But if you don't, I have no idea, to be honest, what they'll request otherwise. They might just not want you there, period. They might require a tax. Which we could probably do all right. Right now we're just having people train on the dummies. Need some people getting their fighting skills up. So that's Ice and Moo, right? Let's go ahead and get Benji on one of these, yeah. And once one of them are done, we can replace them. Oh, there he goes. Oh, I was telling him to run off for a second. Once we got 15 each, I think we'll probably be pretty... I think we'll actually be pretty good for going into the swamp. Because we got a lot of materials to go. We can start our farm. We don't have rain barrel technology. I don't think we do. Let's... Farming. I don't even know where that would be. Storage, maybe? Because I know rain barrels are another way of keeping water. Yeah, in order to run a farm, you need water. Now, it rains a lot there, so there's that. Storage. Oh, maybe farming. Rain collector, there we go. We could build a rain collector. It's iron plates. So we'll need a lot of iron plates when we get there. The good thing is we're going to have a lot of food. Now we need to decide where in the swamp we really want to be. That's Swamp Village over there. That's by Shem, but we really don't want to be too close to Shem because Shem has got gutters in it, so be careful. I actually built one of my bases in Shem before. I think that's Shem. That's the forest. Pretty sure that's Shem. It's got all the lakes in it. And Vengeance is somewhere over here. I think this is Venge. We'll go down to the swamp, set up there. Now the funny thing is that would actually give us a trade route into this area. And maybe we can help like the rebel farmers overthrow the Empire. We'll see what happens there. Because technically our guy started out in the Empire load. So I think that he might be willing to see that happen. Or not the Empire. I keep calling it the Empire. The United Cities. It used to be, I think it was like way back toward the beginning of Kenshi. They were called the Empire. Or there was like a thing called the Empire or something like that. Like back when it was way in alpha. Oh no, hold on. I just told him to run across the map. There you go. Probably mentioned it a ton saying Empire. Oh, why is he standing on top of that? Okay, hold on. I think we got some materials full. Yep, we do. Let's go ahead and get Swift here. See, this changed again. I think Bard and Swift changed places. Don't know what's going on with that. Every once in a while, my squat thing changes. Throws me off. I don't know if it's sorted somehow. Hold on. So Swift, go ahead, take all that stuff back. Otherwise, they'll just not work. There we go. Get some iron going, so. Or actually, hold on. Let's get Bard real quick. Turn off his job. Let's get him hauling a little bit. Is he close enough to... Oh, yeah, he is. Let's get Bard and Swift to haul around a little bit. Raise their strengths. Respectively. And Bard's strength should be going through the roof. Should be skyrocketing just considering how much he's carrying. It's going alright. This town gets a lot... Bad Teeth gets a lot more rain than most Holy Nation towns. Most Holy Nation towns, you won't get a thing. I think one time I tried to set up and stack, and there wasn't rain ever. I'm running around. Because if they're going to be carrying all our resources, we need them to be fast. Otherwise, we're going to have to fight every single person we come across. Just isn't gonna go our way, I think. So I'm pretty sure the ninjas have at least greater than 15 combat skill. And they have pretty quick weapons. However, the weapons will be pretty bad against us because they're cutting. And we do have some pretty good armor coverage on most of our people. Cutting weapons are just not really all that great against armor unless they're one with armor penetration. However, they will be deadly if they do get us. That's why I like the 100% of critical areas coverage of the Holy Nation armor and then the masked helmet. You at least know your guy won't die. He might lose every limb, but he will not very likely die. Or he will very likely not die. It's going to be a while before that strength gets up to anything kind of meaningful. Even on fast forward, it takes a long time to get strength, even carrying stuff like this. I mean, now I could actually have Bard carry Swift. Hold on. Pick up. And that should really boost the strength. Oh, watch that. Like, look at that jet rocketing. It's slowed down a little bit. Where is he? Bard, where'd you go? There you go. What's your 50%? Hold on. Put her down real quick. 25%? Okay, it's literally double. Okay, definitely pick her up. Hold on. That's double the XP. And she's already got one of the highest strengths in our team because she's been hauling the metal to market. So I need Bard to kind of step up. I really probably should have done load, to be honest. Because he would have gotten that strength much quicker. And I don't know if that strength negative is going to hurt him that much in terms of how much he's carrying. Let's look at those stats, see how he's doing. It's going up pretty good. Technically, I don't have to click anything on the return journey. I don't know why I have him on hold. There we go. That's a nice little kind of route for him to do. Let's get it. That strength going pretty good. It'll take a while though. Might just take a little while. Even going as fast as it is, it's like jumping by 2 every once in a while. I've seen it says chance to break free or resist kidnapping attempts. I guess that's only ever mattered for the AI. I know that maybe in like certain circumstances, people might be able to sneak up on you, but it's been so rare. And I don't think I've ever had someone get free on someone's shoulder. Generally, if someone's had you captured, unless they put you in a cage and it's breaking out of the cage. Running back and forth. It's got a wall to get that strength to a good amount, to a good level. Oh, how are these? Oh, it seems like they would be done because they're 15, right? Yep. Ice and Moo are done with that. Let's go ahead and get Moo off that as well. We have Benji on that one. Let's let them run off. Okay. Then let's get him on one. Scratch. And let's get Zim. We're going to skip over Swift and Bard because he's working on a more important stat at the moment for his purpose. Zim is pretty close to 15, so I'll do him. Why not? In time it'll take him to level up to 15. It'll probably be a good amount of time. Might as well not forget anyone. And just check how we're doing on... Oh hey! How are you doing, Lone Wolf? Sorry if I may have caught on to your message a little. Hope you're doing... Oh, okay, cool. All right. Thanks for showing up though. Nice to see you're doing well. I think I have a pretty big delay on the recording, so it might come off as a little bit late, but it helps a lot with the bit rate, so hopefully it's good there. But yeah, I've just been doing Kenshi really, and we've actually been doing pretty well too. We're mostly just working on strength now though. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there at some point. I think once we get to the swamp, we'll be able to have a full-on base rather than living out of the Holy Nations kind of city here. And we also need to get some helmets for everybody too. Oh, did he just put that away? He did just put, yeah, he just put a bunch of stuff away, I think. Whoop. There you go. That's the only thing is I want to go put those stones away. So I want to quit practicing. I want to quit their training. I wonder if the Swift lost their stuff. No, they still have their stuff on their back. And now they moved up there. Yeah, something's going on with this little bottom bar. Pictures are either resizing or something like that. I doubt we're just losing and gaining a recruit every once in a while. I think what we're looking at for strength. It's gonna be a while before he gets the strength we need him to do. And I guess I could go ahead and just try to sell that stuff. He'll get strength over time. Once he gets to 24, I'm gonna just go ahead and sell that stuff. Let's put them down. Using heavy weapons is another way of getting some strength. Let's have them both run over here. So, worst case scenario, our weapons are fairly effective at this point, so I think we'll be all right. Or how much we can carry is pretty good. Oop. Let's go ahead and buy some more food, because we've probably been eating through it. We actually kind of splurge on food cubes now, because that's going to be more space efficient, because they don't have ration packs here, unfortunately. Ration packs are the best because you can just save so much space. Let's go to the armor shop. Bard still has his whole load of metal. He's still got his whole backpack full. So it should be pretty neat seeing how much money we can just go off this one run. Mining is like how you get rich in Kenshi. So like, with very minimal effort. Just time. Which is why I always find, like, don't if you're ever starting a game in Kenshi, don't like worry too much about what difficulty you're starting at, because basically starting difficulty in Kenshi, with the exception of the one where you start without an arm, every other difficulty is basically just the amount of danger you start in and the amount of time you'll need to take to get somewhere else, difficulty wise. So it's pretty much all just a time thing. And even the one without an arm technically is, once you consider you can get a prosthetic that can be better than your original limb. Now let's buy boots, switch out his boots. Any other standard helmet? Let's switch out his helmet. And let's sell the rest of this. Oh, a shoddy helmet. We don't want to bother with that. Now, do they have? I thought they had chain mail. It's not. Rusty chain mail is acceptable if we can get a standard one. Not chain shirt. We don't want to bother with that because our arms are too uncovered. I mean, it's a little bit. I think chain shirt. It's slightly a little bit stronger than the one with the full arm coverage, but I think it technically gives you some advantages over the other one. But I feel like unless you have to, I would not leave any part of your body not covered in some way in this game, because that's how you lose it. That's how you lose an arm, a leg, and anything like that. In the Okranite playthrough that we're doing right now, that's just not going to be ideal, because we won't be able to replace the limb. It's just going to be gone. Let's go ahead and go to the weapon shop, because if they don't have the right armor, they might have the right weapons. Let's see. Okay, so neither of them had any more. Or any more materials to sell, but they do have some pounds crosses, which we can go ahead and get. They're the old refitted blade, but that's okay, because we'll be making our own pretty soon. And long cleaver might be something we might want to kind of have just sitting in the wings. We might have a little armory and then have like where they can switch out between pound cross and long cleaver. Is anyone missing a? And I don't think we can carry that unless we have it in our hands. We'll have to send someone over to grab one. Let's throw that in his inventory here. Put that there. Put that out of his inventory. So we want to get Stone over here to get a sword. Or Moo even. You get Moo. I think we'll let those guys go. Get Moo over here. Get Bard out of there. Turn his jobs thing back on. See your wares. And have her get Pounds Cross. There we go. Because Long Cleaver and Short Cleaver is a great pair up. If you're only not fighting animals all that much. It's a great anti-human weapon. We may even need to use it while in the swamp. May need a bunch of long cleavers. But I think we want to have at least the option of having a whole bunch of Paladin's crosses because they're pretty good. But long cleavers and short cleavers are a good matchup. You can't go wrong with them, really. Because if you look at the statistics, Pounds Cross, you see that negative 10% against humans? It's going to kind of hurt. Whereas this only has the negative against animals, but the robot difference is huge. So, Pounds Cross, if you get a bull, do the old-fashioned mercenary. Because that was one thing that, like, way back in the day, you didn't carry two-handed swords on your back or in your... Like, that was a big misconception. A lot of times people, like, well, I should say in Central Europe. I don't know necessarily about other places, but at least in Central Europe, there was a cart. You just bring a cart with you, and you just have a whole bunch of swords sitting in a cart, and they just pull them from the cart. They wouldn't actually be carrying them on them, and that, which is kind of a funny misconception because I think there were some, but they were handled differently. Generally, if something was two-handed and you had it on your back, there wasn't really a good way of getting it off of your back. There are ways. There's a I guess you could say that. You never say that someone didn't try something, like even using two swords. While most places just didn't bother with it, there were places that did, and had some moderate success with it. But it's just unless you work around it. I mean, like there's even like a whole fighting style that I think like in Russia, like some of like the military uses that's about around using like an AK-47. Like a whole martial art style, basically, taking people down with it by using like the clip or something. So like, you can make anything a weapon if you really wanted to. Oh, yep, yes, we understand. You can make anything work if you really wanted to, but generally, your best chances are if it's longer than the other what the other person is using. If you can hit the other person first, you are generally going to win, and that's the big advantage of Long Cleaver. Is it's really, really long. I think Paladin's Cross is maybe a little bit longer. I'm not entirely sure. But it's another reason why I'm kind of worried about running around with short cleavers with some of our characters. Because even though some of the short weapons can be really good, just mechanically in the game, they end up being a little bit... Just your art of engagement. Your how far the length of engagement, not art of engagement, but your range of engagement. The other person often swings first, and unless you have good defensive skills, you're always put on the spot. You always have the chance of getting hurt first. So actually, normally I play with polearms and crossbows. That's my big brain play. My big brain play is play with polearms or by polearm category, whether it's Naginata Katana, or if it's the just Naginata or the actual thing called polearm in the game, generally you'll be better off because you'll hit more. Because especially how this game kind of operates with limited engagement and with only one person be able to swing at a time at a single target, and also how weapons cleave in this game. Basically, if you want to hit multiple people, your only option is to have a long weapon. If you have a short weapon, you're only going to really hit one, maybe two people at a time. Even if it's better, you have to really consider if you're fighting a single target or if you're fighting a group. If you're fighting a group, use a big weapon. Heavy weapons absolutely knock the trash out of enemies for that very reason. Ooh, did Zim stop? Stop training because we didn't have it on the top. Hold on. Move down to the top. There we go. Thought we had some more people training. Oh, they're still training. At least he's still training. He needs to throw that onto the top too. Okay. Let's check up here. See how we're doing with that. Let's see how we're doing with that. Oh, we're already at 100 copper, so let's bring that back in. Go ahead and sell that. Let's go to this bar. But yeah, there definitely were some weapons people carried that were two-handed, I believe. But almost all the time it was in a cart or on an animal. And then you took it from there. Generally, you didn't carry a two-handed, something like what we consider, I guess you could say, two-handed sword. Some swords were just made to actually fight animals, funny enough. Like, a lot of large weapons were the huge element, like, even with, like, well, I guess not only to fight animals, but with a consideration for animals. Like, you could argue the Claymore, had an advantage if someone was running at it with a horse. You could kind of use it like a spear because it had that little grip. And a lot of people don't realize a lot of sword fighting was half swording. Like a lot of half swording, like using your sword like a spear, because a spear is actually pretty good. The reason why it stuck around so long is because it was cheap. It was effective, and sometimes swinging relied a lot on timing. Whereas if someone was running right at you, you could, pretty easily stab somebody. Especially if it's a big animal. Whereas if you're swinging, you could pull back and then you get run over. You know what I mean? Or you could just swing and just hit it like kind of on the dry, like I guess they called it dry beating, where you hit it with like the flat end of the sword. That's me making a visual aid of me clapping my hands together. There you go. But, which I guess is lost in this context because non-visual medium, but so that here. Okay, we still need to sell some more stuff. But that's the only problem with anything. If you're fighting with anything with an edge, you've got the problem of that. If you hit them with the side, you might really give them a bruise. But if you don't get edge contact, you might as well just hit them with a metal stick. I mean, there were times where, like in cavalry, like a lot of cavalry, like a lot of times if any cavalry swords, a lot of times they didn't even need to be all that sharp to take somebody down, just because at the speed of which it was moving. It's just a metal object moving at a very high speed. Can do a lot of damage. But generally, you want to with anything that's kind of bladed, you needed edge contact, which is really where metal armor really kind of, and I do like the fact that metal armor in this game kind of translates things into blunt damage, because that's kind of what it did do to some degree. I mean, sometimes like if your sword was really light, it just didn't do anything to them. Like you might just go deflect right off. But really, the whole idea was to stop edge contact, because like it'd be like trying to hit a metal sheet, especially when it was beveled, or I don't know if that's the proper term for it, but it was like curved, right? The whole idea is it would just kind of go off to one of the sides and go down, and so that's where if someone hit you pretty squarely, it could hurt pretty bad, and depending on the kind of material, that's really ultimately where chainmail had issue, because chainmail doesn't really like change the direction of the blade. It just kind of catches it. Like chainmail, ironically, you could say getting stabbed, you could catch, if someone's trying to stab you and you kind of have it, if it's kind of loose, which I don't know exactly how loose you'd want chainmail. I mean, obviously not that loose, but you might get caught up in there, but it's not something to really rely on. But you'll very likely get bruised up, someone whacking you with a sword. But plate armor kind of gets rid of a lot of that, because it just moves them off to one of the sides. Or ideally. Obviously not everything functioned exactly. But that's one of the most common debates and things I see. Are like just historical swords and what's effective, what's not effective. Be honest, you're hitting somebody with a big thing of metal. Just when it comes down to it, they might get hurt. You know what I mean? They're gonna get hurt. Like in this game, it works so well because you are hitting people with hunks of metal. It is going to hurt. It's going to be translated into blunt damage. It's going to hurt a little bit, especially since this isn't like modern crafted, or this isn't like masterly crafted gear. This is made in some post-apocalyptic wasteland, right? People are going to get hurt, but I do like the idea that it translates it to blunt damage, because I think that takes the best argument, the best of both arguments, of going, yeah, it's going to have weight behind it, so it will hurt you, even if it doesn't cut you, and then going from the other, and especially some of the swords, like if you look at the long cleaver, that looks pretty hefty. That looks pretty hefty, and according to them, it's 9 kilograms. So, and it looks to be all in the cutting edge. So that's probably gonna hurt you. That's probably gonna hurt you, even if you're wearing like the armor that's presented in the game. It's going to very likely hurt you. But is it going to kill you? That depends on the gear and how well squarely it hits you, which I think is probably reflected in skills. So I think the game does a good job, considering. One other, like, kind of like where, if you notice, there's even cutting efficiency, which, is a little bit different. Cut resistance efficiency, which is how much is translated into blunt damage. Or is tied to how much is translated into blunt damage. So I applaud the developer on that. I give him a pat on the back for kind of balancing those two arguments. Because armor can make you kind of just like a medieval tank to some degree, but at the same time, you're not like, in the game, there's things that you can't necessarily replicate that are ways of messing around with it. It's not that armor was technically always an advantage. It was more conveniencing of whether it was inconvenient or not. Like, you having to wear armor for a long period of time, whether that was inconvenient for you or not, whether that was going to basically make your life really annoying. That's another thing. A lot of people wondered with carrying swords. And swords have always been really cool and stuff. And this is kind of like, I guess you could call it a sword punk game. Where they've gone back to using swords and everything. A big element of swords people don't really recognize is you could carry swords a lot of places. Swords are kind of like sidearms. Like, you could carry around a sword and people would be okay with you. But if you came in there carrying like a halberd back in the day, they're like, no, that's a no. You can't just come in here carrying a halberd, right? So back in the day, swords were very popular just because you could kind of take them everywhere. They were convenient. They're weapons of convenience, very much so. I mean, there are other weapons that were very specialized that probably people would be okay with you carrying. Like you could argue any kind of club people might be able to let you carry around, but a club isn't really going to be, depending on where you are. Club's going to be more acceptable in places where they don't want you to have swords, like back in or places where swords aren't going to be really accepted. Like in Ireland, they had the shillelagh, which was basically a we call it basically a club. I guess that's a generalization. It's like saying any sword is just generally a sword, but it was a kind of like I don't know how. A club crafted with purpose. I guess you could say it's a club crafted with purpose. It had an idea of how you used it. It wasn't just like a stick. It wasn't just a stick that you just bapped somebody with. And I guess you could argue that everything runs down to either it's a metal or wooden stick bapping somebody with. But it had an idea of how you were supposed to use it. There was a term for like a dueling with shillelagh. I don't even, like there was actually a term. I forgot what it was called. I guess it's not really dueling, but we call it fighting with shillelaghs. And I could be butchering the pronunciation of that. I don't know. But every culture has basically had its own kind of like different weapons that were seen as socially acceptable. And those weapons got a lot more publicity than the ones that weren't. Because nobody was going to say it was okay to walk in with a... nobody would say it was okay to walk in with some just giant kind of, massive, we call it pole arm or pole hammer or something like that. Very few people were okay with you doing that unless you were some kind of guard, I guess. And even then, you might, you're going to have to carry that all the time. It's not like you can like put it across your back. You're going to get caught in doorways. So swords were convenient. Swords were very convenient, especially smaller swords were very convenient. Very effective for what you got. And oftentimes you didn't need more, especially in a civil environment. Anything more just seemed like too much of a, and it could even be kind of a bad situation because you're going to be stuck in buildings and hucking a spear around in a building while trying, it could be kind of rough. I mean, I can imagine a stairway you could really block some people off, but you're gonna have trouble. Because even like at one point the Romans fought the Greeks in a pretty big fight, and even in that situation, spear formations can have trouble. More so for once they get kind of ingrained. If you're not very, because technically you always have the edge, but once you lose the edge, getting the edge back is hard. So having longer reach is basically going, you can't get to me. But if they can get to you, you're in trouble because now you got to get away from them. You've got to get away from them, or you're not going to very effectively be able to fight unless you're whacking them, or you can kind of choke back on the spear. But even then, you're kind of having to inconvenience yourself. So I'm a firm believer that in battle, the one who is less inconvenienced typically won. If it was just simpler for you to win, you probably won. It's normally that simple. If it was going to be easier for your team to win, it typically went that way. And typically ways where like they were like in battles in which there were great odds on one side and like they lost. Generally, it was something that they just couldn't realize. There was like a really big mistake, like going into choke points. So many people throughout history going into choke points, and that's a big thing in Kenshi. With the fact that only one person can engage a person at a time, that is a big difference than in real life. That is one thing that is very big difference. Two people would regularly attack somebody at the same time. That's not necessarily a limiter that most people held themselves to. Plenty of people would totally jump in there and stab the guy in the back while the other one was fighting. That That would not surprise me. Man, we got a lot of money. We're gonna be real set for once we're ready to go. I wonder how we're doing on training. Once we get everyone to 15, we're probably gonna try to head out. Man, he's at. Let's get rid of that real quick. Anyone there who's done? No. Hold on, does someone need a sword? Someone need a sword real quick. Yes, you do. You both do. It's good stone. It's good stone a sword. I mean, heck, even like daggers, like even daggers could work. And like there were a lot of medieval people who wrote medieval books, like training manuals that talk really big game about basically being able to use daggers in all situations. But realistically, you can make anything work if you know what you're doing and the other person doesn't. And sometimes not knowing what you're doing can be very dangerous in and of itself. So it's just really it's who's put themselves in the more convenient situation. If you have to do one thing to win and they have to do two things to win, you've won about 90% of the time. You'll win 90% of the time. So that's why we're having training, because we want everything to be in our favor. We want it all to be in our favor if we can. Let's have Logan and Stone actually run both over to the armor shop. I think they might have some more armor for helmets. Let's see. Let's see. Oh yes, they did just get a bunch of helmets in. That's good. Only one standard one though. That's unfortunate. But they got long boots too. We don't need any more chest plates. Now they get all the chest plates though. Leather turtleneck might be a good intermediary. High grade rusty chainmail. We don't really want to go into high grade at the moment. We want to just keep it to standard. So we'll just wait on that, because high grade's too expensive. And we could give it to load, but high grade rusty chainmail doesn't sound worth it, because it's got that slight bit of weakness. If we're gonna get high grade, we're gonna get high grade just chainmail instead of high grade damage. Instead of high grade damage, we want high grade. But yeah, I think we're doing all right in the fight. All right so far. However, we are a little bit behind on armor in terms of helmets and under armor. We got a lot of the body armor worked out, but we just do not have the under armor game. Or what did they call it in Kenshi? They don't call it under armor in Kenshi. They call it shirts. We don't have the shirt game. But basically, in the Kenshi world, I think the mechanics are pretty spot on for kind of. There's a few things that in any game kind of gets embellished. Like obviously, how many times you could get hit. And virtually every game embellishes that a little bit. Generally, if you got hit, you're gonna not make it. Oh, he is really doing bad food-wise. Let's get Swift to feed him. He's been eating through a lot of our food lately. Oh, hold on. I always throw it right back as soon as I give it to them. I want him to keep eating and live. We need him. We need to have our training dummy until he finishes his sentence, whatever we consider. We can get him recruited through the kind of like the freed from slavery trick. We'll try that. But I have a feeling we won't be able to, because I don't think he's gonna never think that we imprisoned him. I want to try it though, because that would be kind of neat for him to kind of replace Taurus on the team. I actually haven't seen Nomads lately. No, they were passing through all the last few episodes. We're all over the place last few episodes. Oh, is that them? No. I don't know what happened. They're everywhere. For some reason they just stopped showing up. They're still doing some training. Technically, we have enough materials. We probably could make another one. But I don't want to have to get more materials, so I want to make some training stuff there. So we'll leave it at 3. That way you don't have to build an electrical crafting bench just to get some stuff for that. In fact, actually, hold on. What materials do I need for a generator? Again. Biofuel distillery, iron plates, generator, copper, and iron plates. Okay. That's good. And corpse furnace, things like that. If you have bone dogs, actually, corpse furnace can get kind of funny because they'll actually eat a lot of, like, you kind of can end up having a bone dog rather than a corpse furnace because you can kind of literally throw them to the dogs. I don't know if they'll just eat all the limbs and just leave everything else, but bone dogs will eat limbs at least, at the minimum. They'll actually go kind of, like, actually, believe it or not, if you carry some limbs, this is actually a fun trick. If you carry some limbs with you, you can actually toss limbs around, and I believe that they'll go for the limbs because they have a little, like a little kind of script that they'll go with, grab a limb, and then they'll just all run around for a little bit. I don't know. I've never tried dropping a limb for them and see if that could distract them, but I do know if the limb gets knocked off, you could have them go for the limb and run off with the limb and stop fighting you if you kind of back off. So that could be a fun way of escaping them. Is just get yourself something that can make just knock the limbs off of a few bandits and carry some of them around. As grim as it sounds. Let's see. How are we doing on training? How far are they anyway? 13, 14, and 14. So they're almost done with their training. And then after them, that's pretty much, we just have Slink. Right? That's them. We just have Stone, Logan, and Slink to really work on. And then I think Bard too, because I skipped right over him. For some reason. For one reason or another. Let's check how Swift's doing. See about that inventory. Whoa. I've gone into Steam Overlay way too many times. There we go. For some reason in this game, I don't know why, Kenshi specifically, it feels like I only need to press shift. Because it's shift tab, and a lot of times I don't press tab, and for some reason it seems like it's already got tab pressed. And I've only ever had the problem while recording, so I don't know. I don't know if that's Kenshi or OBS. Let's throw this in there. Let's take this. And that. Because you want as much as possible food when we leave, so that we don't need to have the farm ready yet, because that's going to be the big problem. Is it's going to be, so as we're making the rice, which is actually going to be a pretty effective food if I remember, it's going to take a while before we can actually make it. And this will give us time to set our farm up. I forgot to actually bring the material to sell to him. Okay, hold on. Go get more material real quick, Swift, and then we'll sell it to him. He's got 14,000 now. We don't want him to reset his inventory. Oh wow, we actually did sell it all. Well, let's just sell whatever we have. I think we're getting less because we have some of our copper miners on the training. There we go. Let's actually see what the fence has. They have a fence here. I don't know if they have a fence in this one. Oh no, there he is. Trade. He just has shoes. Okay, never mind. I think if you're friends with him, they have a larger stock. And he'll clean your gear for you. So there's that too. Let's see. There you go. I think, well, but however, I think we just needed to not be disguised. I don't think we need any more than that. Let's actually unlock him real quick. Do another. Let's do another beatdown. There we go. Everyone, get him again. There we go. First aid. Again, we don't want to heal up his arms. Okay, so let's pick him up and throw him back in. It would be kind of neat getting him on the team, though. If he can survive a little bit longer, and we'll try the slavery trick on him, to where we free him from slavery, and see if that gets him to recruit to us. If it does, then we'll try to keep him. If not, we might set him free. You know what? Maybe he served his sentence. On one hand, I kind of was wanting to dip him into one of the acid lakes. Because that can be what you do, is you just go to one of the places with acid lakes and just drop them in. Or there's other kind of ways you can finish kind of people off in Kenshi. But, you know, maybe we've kind of gotten a lot out of him. So we'll decide, I guess. We'll think about it. We'll try the trick of trying to recruit him first, and if that works, and we have a team member. If not, hey, you know, we can always find some other use for him. He's almost done. Once he's finished, we can replace him. I think he's got 14, right? He should be almost done. It should be any moment now. There we go. Okay, it's 15. You don't need to be doing this anymore, Benji. Cut that out, and then have you go to, and Zim's almost done too, right? He is almost done. Let's have someone else who's got less. Hey, Scratch already there? Yeah, Scratch is already there. Swift's, okay, Bard, you go do this one. Jump on, throw that on top. I think that from there on, we'll see what we do. Good thing is he should level up pretty quick, because he's got a negative to his combat skills from wearing the backpack. I don't know if that affects the training on the training dummy, though. But yeah, let's fix him. He's standing weird. Zim's almost done. We want to move him off and replace him with stone. Okay, so he's done. Get that, and have stone. There we go. When stone gets here, we'll probably call it for today, though. I had a lot of fun. Oh, wolf. Hold on. Go ahead and help fight that wolf. It's free combat. Try to get a hit in. Oh, Zim's come. Zim's gotten over there too. He's not really getting into the. Getting to the fray a little. But yeah, to me, 100% armor on what do you call it? On body parts is often a lot more important. On critical body parts is a lot more important than most other things. I would say if you can't get 100% armor, if you're willing to give up 100% armor on your body parts, right leg, right arm, and then both legs are the other thing you can trade it for. If you can get your legs and your right arm protected, that's fine too. Those are two things you can't give up. And you really don't want to give up is your legs and your right arm. Your left arm in this game only affects whether you can carry stuff. And it will lower your max strength, but if you replace it with a prosthetic, you're okay. So your left arm does impact things, but it's not an end of the fight. If you lose your right arm, you'll switch to basically martial arts. Which I guess if you're a martial artist, it doesn't matter. But hold on, did you get to 15? No, you just got to 14. 12, and 5. Okay, we'll leave it there. Hope you guys enjoyed. I had a lot of fun this episode. Still just training to get to the swamp. We're almost going to be there. I think that the last few things we need to do is get... I think we're on Logan and is Logan out there already? No. Okay. So it's... The ones that we need left to get trained are Logan and Slink after these three. And then we'll be ready to go. Because I just want to have a fighting chance against those ninjas. Because once we go there are things that will tear us up once we're down. So, or can kind of sit over us, and every time we get up, they'll keep going after us. So, I should say, the thing is before you go to a place with something immediately hostile, like spiders are immediately hostile, and bandits are immediately hostile. Before you go to somewhere that has a lot of things that are, in most cases, immediately hostile. Bandits you don't have to worry too much about because generally they just walk away after they take you down. But don't go anywhere with cannibals, gutters, or spiders without being able to be sure you're going to walk out. Because if you're not sure you can walk out, you'll probably not come back at all. Because they won't be very nice to you in the process of fighting you. So spiders probably are the middle ground, I would say. In between, spiders and wolves kind of rest in the middle ground of they're more dangerous than bandits because they're immediately hostile. You can't pay them off. I think that they'll eat you under certain circumstances. I don't know if they'll eat you alive. I know gutters will eat you alive. I think both of the other ones will eat you if you're dead. I don't know about spiders entirely, but I think the others will eat people if they're dead, which can make your loot disappear, or will go into the ground. But finding it's going to be a trouble after that, because then you're going to have to run around with holding Alt. But yeah, so my recommendation is before you go anywhere with spiders and wolves, learn to outrun them. And before you go anywhere with anyone who's going to carry you off like cannibals, know you're going to be, either outrun them and don't fight them at all, or if you're going to fight them, make sure that you have the ability to pick up a teammate and run and outrun them still. That's that's kind of just a rule of thumb, because a cannibal will pick up one of your teammates and run before the fight is even done. So you do have that danger of that you have to be able to pick them up first and keep fighting, or just run off. So just things to keep in mind. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys had a good one, and see you guys all later. All right, bye.